get your cold, when you get a cold, do you get it in your sinuses?
Yeah. It's all in my sinuses, and then I have to take whatever for it.
Mine starts right here in the throat. Where what are these? The glands or whatever. Mine starts right in the throat. The
Oh.
throat.
Can you do anything to prevent it or to make it go away if you catch it?
If I get ill, I get really ill. I usually don't get ill. I'm pretty good like that. I'm pretty resilient. But if I get it, that knocks me out bad. Like I'm fucked up.
Are you gonna get a flu shot this year?
I would like to. I do get them. Do you?
I've never gotten one before, so this will be my first one.
Oh, you're going to get one. Good
Yes.
for you.
Yes.
Good for you.
I feel like it's hypocritical to criticize anti-vaxxers and then be like, I don't want a shot because my arm will hurt and they don't give me a balloon.
Yeah. I'm going to take it that we're rolling.
Yes.
Okay.
And as per tradition, Shane asks if we're rolling, and I say,
yeah, Grandpa's like, are we rolling? Yeah. We're doing special Halloween shows, right?
Yes. This is part 1 of the Halloween episode.
And I was wondering if you even like Halloween. I was coming in this very excited. I wondered if I liked Halloween, but I wondered if you like Halloween.
Do you know what? I don't give a fuck about Halloween. I'm Nannerl. I'm going to do a Halloween episode, but just between you and me, fuck Halloween.
Throwing eggs and smashing pumpkins. I throw the eggs right at the bus. Trick or treat, smells Satan's feet. Halloween candy prolongs the autumn rot. Slowly grow, slower. Trick or treat, smells trick or treat, trick or treat. Halloween candy prolongs the autumn rot in your tooth. If you're a true Halloween patriot, you'll hand out fireworks and not candy. Fireworks and not candy. Fireworks and if you're fireworks and not candy. My favorite part of Halloween is throwing eggs and smashing pumpkins. Slowly we grow, slower we rot. Halloween candy prolongs the autumn rot. Slowly we grow, slower we rot. Halloween candy prolongs the autumn rot. Slowly we grow, slower we rot. My favorite part of Halloween is throwing eggs and smashing pumpkins. I throw the eggs right at the bus. Trick or treat, you'll smell Satan's feet. Halloween candy prolongs the autumn rot. Slowly we grow, slower. Trick or treat, smells and not candy. Fireworks and feared fireworks and not candy. Slowly grow, slowly rot. Finger sandwiches for Halloween treats. My favorite part of Halloween is throwing eggs and smashing pumpkins. Slowly we grow, slowly we rot. Halloween candy prolongs the autumn rot. Slowly we grow, slowly we rot. Halloween candy prolongs the autumn rot. Slowly we grow, slowly we rot. Trick or treat, smell Satan's feet. Slowly we grow, slowly we rot.
I like Halloween.
I think I like the idea of Halloween. And I think part of me is really worn out today because I was really excited about doing a Halloween episode. But then I got so excited that I tuckered myself out.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that's you too. Because last night I did the same thing. Like I made a plan with a friend of mine today, and it was going to be earlier in the day before this, and I'm like, I can't do it. I'm too. I had to write him and say, I got too much anxiety over this recording. I just got to sit and chill until we record. I got to sit and think about this. So it's funny, but I did think about it. I did. I wrote some notes, and so I'm very excited about Halloween shows. But for me, I guess I don't know. Halloween is more Walpurgis, like where I feel it. Like if we're talking about in a satanic perspective, I really enjoy Walpurgis, and no one else celebrates that but freaks like us. I don't know if you do. But,
so for people who don't know what it is, what is Walpurgisnacht?
Night of the Witches. So it's like the end of May, 1st of April.
So it's the opposite of it's kind of like how people who say stuff like Halloween in July.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's cool. I think it's a a satanic holiday, and I like celebrating that one. I like making a fire, or barbecuing steak, or something like that, and I like Walpurgis. But I love Halloween. I love Halloween and how big it's getting. Like it's getting commercial. It's really big deal, and it's like a pushback on Christmas.
I see that. I could see that totally. Like the people who got sick of the whole so-called war on Christmas, the losing your shit over the red cups and stuff like that. I think a lot of those people sort of flipped over to Halloween and are the ones who really go hard for Halloween.
What do you mean losing the red cups?
So there's always at Starbucks like a Christmas cup, and then one year they did a cup kind of different where it was like blue or something like that, or there were like holiday images that weren't quite Christian white Christmas. It wasn't Coca-Cola Christmas, and so a lot of very devout American Christian people got very upset about that and said, I'm never going to Starbucks again. And I think that people who didn't give a shit about the cups sort of got exasperated about it. So they either vehemently bought more Starbucks, or they just felt like, you know what, fuck Christmas. Because every single year you have a relative or you have someone on Twitter that gets viral saying, oh, the war on Christmas is on. Oh, we need to say Merry Christmas. So those people were like, fuck Christmas. Happy Halloween to you. And
Right.
I think that in a way, even though I personally don't celebrate Halloween, like that Halloween brings more people joy than it did, say, 10 years ago.
Oh, well, I think what an interesting observation you have about that Starbucks thing. I remember that. And I remember like Starbucks was trying to be sympathetic to all holidays in the winter season, all like Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and all that. Right. Oh, I remember that controversy. That's an interesting observation. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just know that I love seeing it. People are decorating their yards more and more.
Yes.
I can't wait to the day that it'll be like the whole fucking block is full of Halloween stuff. Like, I think it's cool.
Yes. And like, do you know what? I haven't seen such well-decorated houses as I have this year. I don't remember so many houses being decorated. And it's sort of nostalgic because as a kid, you sort of have a, rose-colored idea of the excitement of Halloween. And you remember all the houses decorated and getting all the candy or something like that. And like, at least I do. And I noticed a lot of houses around my neighborhood sort of give me that feeling of I want to hear do 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 do, and like see some kid with a ghost costume complaining he got a rock.
Well, Halloween has become like the houses here are really elaborately decorated. When I was walking around, I'm really loving it, and there's a lot of them. And I think that is a sign that religion is going away. I think people that are not religious or I think it's very much the same people you spoke about as the red cup people, but they choose the word spirituality over religion.
Yes.
I'm spiritual. And they're basically, when you ask them what that means, it's a combination of religions that they've picked up. Like, I take this from this. It's their household belief they call spirituality.
Maybe. I think so. I think also Pinterest and YouTube really contributed to people going all out for their house, especially, because everything's on the internet and you don't exist unless you show off and humble brag on the internet. And so if you decorate your home and you copy or take influence from or even invent your own decorations, I think that self-pride for something as individualistic during a time that we're all trying to catch up with each other, it's a very interesting display of individuality, even if someone doesn't intend to.
Nice.
To me, that's quite satanic, actually. It's accidentally satanic. Even if someone doesn't intend to be that way, it's kind of the spirit of Halloween is to be something else, whether it's who you're supposed to be or who you want to be. And I think that expression through the houses is even a kind of a little piece of that.
Yeah, I guess then you could say you find the Satanists and the people who are really going over the top to decorate their Christmas house, like you see the Slayer. I've seen it on YouTube. Like,
oh, I love it. I love when people
Christmas
do like
lights.
Slayer. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess that's the deal with Satanists, though. They'll enjoy the Christmas holiday as well if they want. And that's what I think about. Like, I think we were talking about commercialism of this, and I thought about how in the satanic world you are an opportunist. You do look to exploit opportunities to your advantage. And so I don't think that's such a bad thing. If I were to see Baphomets everywhere on Christmas on front lawns, if it became something like that, it would be sort of interesting. If it became like the satanic holiday, like Walpurgis.
Definitely. I think that it's the one time of the year, kind of like, there's always that one guy who dips his toes into drag for the first time on Halloween. That girl gets the chance to wear goth makeup and not be judged by her friends. You get to, again, try something that you've always wanted to try. It's a pass. And I think a lot of people do so also with satanic imagery. You're somehow allowed to either try it out or come out of the Satan closet for a minute and the imagery is suddenly okay because it's Halloween. It's spooky in a white Christian American sense. That's quite spooky.
Yeah.
What's spooky to you?
What's spooky to me? Usually it's extremists. Anyone who's an extremist really creeps me the fuck out. Whether it's a political extremist, and even like I'm all into Antifa. Like I'm anti-fascist myself, so that's what that stands for. But even sometimes, like I'll hang out with anarchists, and it's sort of creepy to me, or it sort of spooks me out because they're just too. They can't flip the script. They can't talk about anything different. They're extremists, and I see where they're needed and as a tool. But like the Trump people walking around grocery stores with the red hat on, it's like, man, you fucking spooking. Like it spooks me out. I shouldn't say Antifa spooks me out.
Maybe it's the unmoderated amount.
Yeah, they're what?
Something unmoderated.
Yeah, well, they're the cool kind of extremists, I guess. They're okay, but you're asking spooky. I'm talking right away extremists, but religious extremists, political extremists that are I don't know, like boomers, baby boomers. They're spooky to me. Maybe that's what I'm getting at. I don't see too many boomers as Antifa. So it's like, maybe it's just boomers spook me the fuck out. Like, they're just, stop it. Would you stop it?
Someone needs to be a baby boomer wearing black bloc for Halloween. The ultimate.
Exactly.
The Jungian extremist having the self and the shadow self at the same time.
Yeah, I didn't mean to bring Antifa into this. Like, I don't want to get accused of dog whistling.
Oh, no.
He's dog whistling. I'm in love with Antifa. Okay, so how do you like that? But yeah, that's spooky to me. What else is spooky to me? I'm spooky to me sometimes. Sometimes I'm spooky to me. Like when my mind gets going in art, I can spook myself out. Where like whether it's like for self-hatred or hatred of others, or attraction to others. Some things I find myself attracted to, I'm like, whoa, that's pretty spooky. I don't know, we need a sexual I guess we can't have, when we get the robots, the sex robots, we can have a sexual holiday where we can
I think Halloween's a pretty sexy holiday also. Like, you get to fuck a chicken or a hot dog, or whatever your partner is dressed as.
Like, when you get to... chicken? I'm like,
but it just like, because you're wearing a costume, and there are so many like times I've read in a forum about how like a couple went to see like Rocky Horror, or their male spouse wore pantyhose and they're otherwise a straight man, and that they were so turned on by that idea. It's fun. It's that deviousness, and I think that brings out a very interesting behavior in some people.
Yeah, I guess it's the original. Well, that's what I think of when people say the term cosplay or cosplay. Is that how I think of Halloween? I'm like, isn't that Halloween?
I think it's easier for me to understand it when I think of it kind of like Halloween, definitely, because a lot of times these people, if they do the voice, they'll do the voice of whatever the character is, or maybe their mannerisms will be like whatever character they're being. Back to spooky. Do you think that being scared about something on a realistic or in the long term sort of way is the same as something giving you the willies? Like, you mention very realistic things scare you, but I guess when I think of something that's using the word spooky, I think of things like kids playing Bloody Mary in the bathroom.
Oh, that's a
good one. Or like Scary Movie. These weird superstitions that the idea of it kind of gives you a chill up your spine. It's not so much of doing it, but this is a kind of time for that too. Is
that the willies?
I would call that giving you the willies, or something that creeps you out.
So what is the difference between something that's spooky, something that gives you the willies, and then something that scares you? Is there a difference in all three?
I think that scares you is a spectrum.
Are these levels of despair?
So I think on the scary spectrum, something that scares you could range from something that creeps you out to something that keeps you up at night to something that deeply concerns you, whether it's a concern of it harming you or putting you in danger or possibly changing your life. But I think something spooky is not necessarily something that's going to cause you long-term distress. I think something spooky may make you uncomfortable or startle you. So again, like the idea of a chainsaw massacre, but it's not actually happening to you.
So Willie's to me feels like gross. Like it's like, oh, that's gross. Oh, like you
yeah,
know, like
I could see. I think spooky is an adjective, whereas giving you the willies is the verb, having to do with the same situation. I think they kind of connect. Whereas, have you heard the word spoopy?
Never.
So I first heard this word last year, and I remember asking someone what it was, and oh my goodness, so many internet Satanists jumped down my throat about, it exists, look at the Urban Dictionary, I didn't know it was a thing. Spoopy is something that is peculiar or cute and spooky. So, like, if my dog...
have cute and spooky at the same time.
If my puppy had on a vampire cape or something, that's spoopy.
It's funny how our language evolves at 50, you know, like... like when I worked at a home for retarded adults. That's what the check said. Home for retarded adults. Now that word is horrible to use.
Right, it's special needs now, or it is spoopy.
Yeah, spoopy is goth. Like that's what I consider goth. I would just say, oh, that's goth. You know, it's a fashionable, dark thing.
But I think spoopy still has a certain sense of not necessarily cuteness, but it's very non-threatening.
That's
so, Charlie Brown Christmas is spoopy. I mean, Charlie Brown Christmas. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown is spoopy. But then I think of the word Snoopy when I hear spoopy.
I just, whatever. Keep, you know, Grandpa's not using that word ever. I'm not using that word.
You're just mad because you're spoopy.
I'm spoopy?
I think you're spoopy. You used to be scary, but now you're spoopy.
Listen, you're giving me the willies.
It's only because you talk about 50 years old. Try being 500.
Well, you have this great knowledge, though. You're used to these hits. This is the first time I'm getting irritated by words young kids are using. Stop using that word, you kid. Not you, but the general kid. You. Stop yelling at the general you.
Do you have any superstitions around Halloween?
No.
No?
Well, I like to. I tell you what I really love to do, and I'm hoping to do it this Halloween. Fucking love living in a city because you could throw eggs at buses here. And I get a fucking crate of eggs. I get a box like it's like 12 dozen eggs, and holy fuck, we would stand. I had this building once, and I'm like, I'm a fucking adult. I'm gonna throw eggs in style, so I got huge crates of eggs. I'm on the roof of a building throwing eggs down. They're raining down on things. Oh, it was so beautiful. We egg coated a car. We ordered a pizza, and the guy delivers it, and the pizza gets in the door. And once the pizza's in the door, and there's like 5 people on the roof, and it's just we're nailing his car with as many eggs as we can. So he's driving away. You can't even see out the windshield. He's running the windshield wipers. It's just the whole car's dripping in egg. It was so fucking beautiful. I love. Now that was a bit mean, but the city buses, fuck that. Their tax dollars are. Those are my buses. I can throw an egg at them. So throwing eggs at buses is really cool.
Does Chicago have anything kind of like Mischief Day that I hear about in like places like Boston?
Yeah, that's every day.
Okay.
I don't know. We don't have a certain day here like Devil's Night or anything like that. It's just like on Halloween we throw eggs at buses. From what I remember, I like doing that, and I like taking my old pumpkin and smashing it in the street. Like if I have I don't take because because as a child you would steal.
You go hard for Halloween.
Yeah, as well. I'm of the sketching class. You know what sketching is? In winter, you grab the bumper of the car and you sketch down the street when it's snowing.
I don't know this word either.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm of the sketching class.
So for Halloween, besides throwing the eggs and stuff like that, beyond the mischief, would you dress up if you threw the eggs, or do you dress up at all for Halloween?
I don't. The last time I dressed up was probably 30 years ago. I have not dressed up for one Halloween that I can think of. Long time.
Did you do couple costumes or?
I've never been a couple.
You've never been two Shanes for Halloween.
Right. No, I'm not. No. When I was with someone, we never dressed for Halloween. And, we celebrated Walpurgis, more than anything, as I spoke about it before. But but have you dressed up for anything? I mean, now I remember talking to you off the record, or maybe on the record. Who knows? You're always recording. And I remember you talking about being in this elaborate costume a couple of times. And I'm thinking, when we were going to do this Halloween show, Nannerl must dress in costumes all the time. Like, so what? You've told me about one costume. Do you always dress? And if so, what's your favorite? Okay,
so to be honest, I have only dressed up for Halloween when I had a gig, and so the majority of my Halloweens, I was hired as a go-go dancer in some of the club circuit in LA, mostly for like goth nights or more fetish nights, mostly fetish nights. I'm not spoopy enough for the goth nights. And my best costume that was involuntary was I was a Cenobite, like the Hellraiser characters. And I actually had to Google what it is because I had no idea what the hell it was. But I was just told by one of the main promoters who kind of put together what everyone's going to wear, what kind of theme we're going to have, that we're going to do Cenobite. And so we had this like a lot of times, this was for Black Unicorn, which was previously known as Miss Kitty's Parlor. So very club kid, like anything goes, kind of like a gay club, but sexy, fetishy, but you could probably bring your coworkers and they would still talk to you at work if you took them there. So anyway, so for this one, another go-go dancer and I would be Cenobites and like be in this area with all this like fake blood and stuff like that, and just
I don't know what a Cenobite is.
So a Cenobite, I guess it
sounds
like,
familiar for some reason.
Yeah, it's the character that Pinhead is from Hellraiser.
Oh,
it's those like alien like guys that are like bald and have like kind of like gothy looking clothing, but they're like, yeah, like space age-ish. I guess they're people in hell.
They're scary.
So at the time I was bald, I used to shave my head, and so I can't help but feel like they wanted to kind of roll with me being bald for the Halloween costume because it would look cool. Right. And so the other go-go dancer was a guy, and he also shaved his head. So it was perfect that these two bald people were, dressed up this way and then, torturing people for Halloween. And by torture, I mean we got to have all the paddles and floggers at our table and give people spankings and stuff like that. Nice. And so it was fun in that sense. It was fun because I got to be a character that I had no knowledge about. And just as the night went through, I felt like I kind of took on that character. It was really fun. And my partner and I had actually, this is the only couple's costume we had ever planned to do, which was Clockwork Orange. And for obvious reasons, I couldn't be Clockwork Orange that night, but for another gig I had, I could wear whatever I wanted. But he decided to wear Clockwork Orange to this night as well. And since it's a very, very sexy party, he decided to wear like bike shorts, like hot pants instead of pants for the look, and then wore the codpiece thing on the outside of the hot pants and stuff like that. Through the night, while I'm on stage doing my thing, I see him come across different guys dressed like Clockwork Orange as well. And slowly, this little, like, group of white costumes gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like, at the end of the night, like 6 dudes just rolling around dressed like Clockwork Orange walking around the club. And it was kind of funny that through Halloween, through being this character, he sort of found his tribe for the night. And I thought that was very, like, the spirit of Halloween had taken over him.
So you don't know what Hellraiser is. Do you know who Clive Barker is?
Oh, definitely. Clive Barker also was at that event. He was like the host of the event.
Clive Barker makes the scariest films. He's really good with that. Like, oh boy. So I've got a Clive Barker story.
Oh, do tell.
So after I met Anton LaVey in San Francisco, which I've talked about here, I believe.
The incident when you met him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I met him, had cookies, double stuffed Oreos, instant coffee. And so we go down to LA. I go down to LA. And I go there to meet Billy Shire, and he runs a gallery called La Luz de Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is an old school underground gallery, and was underground. And Billy's a well-known name in the art scene there. And so we're talking, and I tell him I just get back from Anton LaVey's house, and he's like, guess who's has a show opening tonight? It's Clive Barker. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. He goes, it's going to be packed. Come around the back door and all this. And so he's like, hey, do you want to meet Clive? And I go, yeah, I'll meet him tonight. He goes, no, he's in the back room. So he moves the curtain. We go in the back room. Clive Barker's back there painting a painting. I'm like freaking out. I'm like freaking out because I've read a couple Clive Barker books. I'm a big fan. I watch all his, and if a Clive Barker movie hits, I go see it. I think he's a really great filmmaker. And he's a great storyteller. Wonderful. And so he's back there and you know, brush with greatness where I'm sort of nervous. I go, oh yeah. So I got a name to brag. I go, I'm just getting back from Anton LaVey's house. And he goes, Anton LaVey Satanic Bible? Tell me all about it. And I tell him a little bit, and he goes, no, I want to know every detail. I want you to tell me every detail. So I go and I tell him the whole story, you know, yada, yada, yada. Had double stuffed Oreos with him. He's laughing. Clive Barker loves the story, and he goes, pick any painting you want here. Which painting's your favorite? He said, that's what he says. He doesn't say pick any painting you want. He says, which painting in here is your favorite? And I look, and most of them were in these pastels. They were in lighter blues and yellows, and there was this black one with the flame shooting up. And I'm like, I love this one. He goes, it's yours. Thanks for the story. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And he gave me this painting. It was like, the frame alone was probably $600. Like, you know, and so he gives me the painting for the story, which I sold years later to pay some bills. You know, underground publishing can be hard. And I was sick of taking, you know, after 2 weeks of cold showers, I gave in and sold to Clive Barker. But boy, that was a cool moment. That was a cool moment. And Clive, he's so fucking spooky. Like, he's one of his scariest movies. He filmed in Chicago. Like, this guy's great. Like, what a great filmmaker. He films it as Cabrini Green, and I don't know if anyone knows.
I've never heard of it.
So Cabrini Green is in Chicago, and it is it's a project, and I want to say it's almost a ghetto, but ghettos are different. They're a neighborhood. This is 50 levels of neighborhood. It's high rise, and there's, I think, 6 of them. And so it's horrific there. I mean, it's really bad. The crimes that go on there are not just intimidation of elderly for their food, but there's been cases of cannibalism there, extreme torture. So Clive Barker picked this place because of all of the dark stories that came from that location, that unholy ground. And I thought that was so cool of Clive Barker to pick that place. But I couldn't. I mean, you have to run the name Cabrini Green Horror Stories online because, if I'm getting triggered out just thinking about it. Like,
Right.
I want to say I don't want to repeat these stories. They're harsh, like harsh.
I think that's a hard line also, dividing what Halloween is, of capturing the essence, the idea of, versus a reality people have to live through being a horror.
Yeah. Well, Clive Barker was great at that.
That's quite amazing that he decided to do that, to go there. That's almost, it's almost like learning more about your heritage kind of a thing, because he is a man who creates horror, and he must see horror to know horror. So that's a quite remarkable.
There's nothing more horrific than our existence at times. Human beings are pretty horrific. You asked me earlier what I found spooky.
Yes.
And I just thought of something. Like, what I found is, for me, Alfred Hitchcock films. Now, those really, I know they're called suspense thrillers, but that is where I was like jaw-dropping watching those Alfred Hitchcock films, because they were psychological terror, psychological horror, or the horrors of man, or human beings, I should say. And I remember the one where I think a wife murders her husband with the ham, frozen ham, and the cops come over to talk about it, and the cops are eating the ham. They just ate the murder weapon. And it was just like this.
Creepy. That's definitely spooky. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but and Clive Barker has fucked me up. Watching his stuff, I'm like, holy shit, my jaw drops. But I don't know. Like, Freddy Krueger doesn't fuck me up. It's sort of funny.
Do you know what? I used to be a really lucid dreamer where I could control everything in my dreams, and we're going to have an episode, I'm sure, about dreams. But without getting too much into it, at some point, I wasn't able to control my dreams anymore. And I think that fear of that kind of feeling of despair is why I refuse to watch Freddy Krueger movies, is because he gets in your dreams. He does something to you. And I think that really delves deep into a fear I have, that fear of control of my life. And so the idea of it is spooky, gives me the willies.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have quite deep-rooted, deep-seated fears of things that are based on superstitions. And I think for myself, a lot of what Halloween implies as spooky is not quite spooky. It's peculiar, perhaps. It's disturbing sometimes. It's demented sometimes. But it also is a pageant to me of what other people interpret as wild, what other people think is crazy. Yeah,
that's so true. I think, well, for maybe for people like the satanic crowd, we're always in the dark. Every day's Halloween to us, right?
Like the Ministry song.
Yeah, exactly. Another Chicago great. So it's like, I think we explore that stuff every day, and then people, on Halloween, their one day they'll think about. I don't know. I think maybe it's fun stuff, though. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that.
For myself, I think that it's hard for me to get motivated about the idea of going all out, doing everything all for Halloween, or planning toward Halloween, when I know I'm not going to get paid to dress up. And maybe that comes from, in the past, I've done so many gigs on Halloween, and to me, that's a working day. So the idea of dropping a bunch of money and planning a bunch of costuming and doing my hair and makeup, etc., to create an illusion always came with the good experience of at least coming home with a fistful of money. And maybe that's my trick or treat. I kind of exchanged, childhood, getting candy for Halloween, for getting money as an adult. So the idea of getting nothing except for an experience is very untrick-or-treaty for me.
So you have to give out tricks then. You're not getting treated. You give the
I
trick.
guess so.
You got to throw an egg at a bus. You got to get the tricks going. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I prefer to celebrate Walpurgis. You know, but I enjoy observing Halloween because it's nice. It's a nice atmosphere. It's cooler than Christmas for me. I really don't like Christmas. So it's like, but I can appreciate a Satanist, let's say that what we were talking about, that is hanging the Christmas lights, playing Slayer. They're really getting into it because they love to celebrate. Like a celebration's cool. Like I do celebrate around Christmas, but I celebrate like 5 days of fish, or Christmas Eve, eat 5 servings of fish, different fish. That's an Italian one. Or I do different ethnic, like I've done Hanukkah meals. So I enjoy celebrating winter solstice, but not the Christian, not the commercialization of Christmas and all this. You know what I do on Christmas? I give out tricks. So at Christmas, like if I'm in a mall or if I'm anywhere where there's a lot of bustle, a lot of traffic, everyone's running around to get gifts, I'll turn my car off. Like I'll be like, it's not running. And people, like there'll be a nun that'll flip me off. Like, fuck you, get out of the way. Like, you know,
wow.
People get irate. They are so angry at Christmas shopping. Everyone is so angry. So I sort of enjoy going out in the Christmas season shopping because I see all this tension and anger. And I sort of like that about Christmas.
You sound like one of those like entities who live in the Black Lodge on Twin Peaks or Fire Walk with Me, where they feed off of people's pain and suffering in the form of cream corn. Like you're just feeding off of that energy around Christmas. Like, oh, my powers are getting stronger.
I like that. I wish it's something like that, but it's just how can I enjoy Christmas? And that's how I find a way to enjoy it. Like, oh, you motherfuckers are walking around all the rest of the year. Like every day's Halloween for us. But part of that every day's Halloween for people that are in a dark world is there's this pain and suffering of life, the suffering and celebration of life. So, you know, I think maybe people that are thinking, engaged, can see you can see in the glass half full or half empty. I understand, but you also accept that life is not all consumption and pleasure. There's a lot of pain and suffering to living in life for everyone of all classes. And so it is nice to see that in everyone's eyes. A lot of people are able to hold their mud with their pain and suffering as they walk around and they have their Gucci. Let's say they have their nose in the air. They're able to do their class thing, but not on Christmas. On Christmas, people are almost like it's suffering like they're suffering. And I don't know what it is. They're just so stressed about shopping and not getting the gifts and getting the gifts and all this nonsense. Seeing their family, they hate seeing their family. It is just. I found a way to enjoy it. I don't get overcome by it. But I would say that I live a life that is aware of suffering and pain every day. And so I don't know if I get off on, I don't get off on that, but I appreciate that other people are having, like, hey, you're like me. You're suffering.
You're one of us.
Right, I see you in this grocery store every week. I bump into you, a couple times a month. And now I see you with the same look I have most of the time. So
okay,
yeah,
that is maybe a connection of humanity.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's something more like that. But you are correct. I do in a anti-capitalistic, anti-consumption way. I do like pretending my car stalled in the exit to a mall when people are trying to get out, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I just sit there and everyone's laying on their horns and there's a symphony of horns. And I do sort of enjoy that. So yeah, I could say I'm part sadist. There's probably 20% of me that's sadist, and I get it out at Christmas.
We will talk about this definitely come December. I have a lot of plans for a similar episode for holidays. by the way, if you're wondering if this is season 3, this is not season 3. We're just doing a Halloween special because everyone likes Halloween specials.
Yeah, it's fun to celebrate Halloween. It's the first time in a decade or more that I'm having a good time on Halloween.
Me too.
Recording these shows with you, so that's cool.
I think that, again, going along with the idea of Halloween being a gig, I feel like Halloween is a lot of work. And I think that this is one of the first times I haven't felt that way. Or I didn't feel stressed out over the idea of putting on something and being in a crowd for Halloween, which to me, that is spooky. Being in a crowd. And there's possibly people who will judge the shit out of me. Or suddenly, there's so many social, variables that can go wrong. To me, that's spooky. To me,
especially you have the stress of working, like you're saying. That's a stressful. Work is stressful. You have to perform. It might be fun.
Right.
You might enjoy what you do for a living, but it's not chilling on the couch eating popcorn watching a movie. It's work. So you have a performance anxiety maybe.
Perhaps.
Even if it's a fun gig. But like for me, Halloween is pretty restful. I just walk around the block, watch the kids because it's amateur night. That's how I feel about it. Like when not alcoholics, but people who drink like every weekend. I don't want to call them alcoholics.
I don't know why, but just now I just thought, what if you were talking about like alcoholic children?
I am alcoholic children. I was one of them. But like drunks or people that like to drink and drug on the weekends, they go, on New Year's Eve, I'm staying in. It's amateur night. They irritate me. That's almost how I feel on Halloween. If it were not a child's holiday where I got children, if that weren't there, I might be irritated with Halloween, much like people who are into Christmas are irritated with Christmas. And maybe that's the time they live their days as Christians and they get irritated on their holiday because it's amateur night.
Yes.
Christmas is amateur night for Christians, certain Christians. And so I think I've said many times, I like the Walpurgis holiday because no one knows about it. So it's like, imagine that one if they start having gifts in the Walmart. Walpurgis.
Do you know what? We're cutting close to that because, actually, this is a good way to seg into what I wanted to talk about. Also, how mainstream, not just the pageantry, the pomp of dressing up for Halloween, but just plain the marketing for Halloween has become very, what would have been known as obscure 10, 15 plus years ago, is now awfully mainstream. These ideas of like spell books, things that resemble a Necronomicon or have like quasi-occult logos on like decorations. It's not just witches and pumpkins for Halloween accessories anymore.
Well, certainly, and I think it has a lot to do with like the satanic folks are growing up. We're opportunists at heart, and we look to exploit situations for our own deal. So, I think that's part of that. I love the commercialization of Halloween. I don't mind it. It plays with my. I don't like all the consumption that we have in our blind consumption without thought. It's a little too much, but I like the commercialization of it. I think it's a sign that religion's dead, and and it's nice to see. It's nice to have a fucking holiday marker for October where it's like people are actually getting angry when they see Christmas items in stores in October. Like, no, this is this is Halloween. You have to wait till fucking November. And when I grew up, when I was a kid, you didn't see Christmas shit in stores until after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And you did? Okay, you too. Well, you're 500 years old. You've seen the whole thing.
Eggnog also. Eggnog doesn't show up until like Black Friday or something like that.
Right. But now it's like they'll try to push it down our throat October 1st if it weren't for Halloween freaks. And I believe there's probably a lot of, at least atheistic people that are like celebrating Halloween. Like they're like, this is my holiday. I think you mentioned something like that earlier.
Yeah, and I think that do you know what? I'm very pleased with it being marketed. I like that it's in the mainstream because some of this imagery is stuff that you had to reach for or you had to make it yourself. And it's kind of neat that even if it's just for one season, someone can like be cool with something that you might be into that might, be spooky to them or something like that. I think it's neat because it's slowly slipping into the mainstream little by little. And I think that I appreciate it more than resent it. I seriously don't understand people who get mad about that stuff. Like, I remember seeing when the Sabrina series started playing last year, I saw a lot of people complain on Twitter about, oh, great, now people are going to start wearing Halloween horns and thinking they're a Satanist. And to be honest, these same people complaining about that are the ones who snatch up everything at the Halloween store when it's on clearance. You can't get more mainstream than that to decorate your house.
That's a weird youthful mindset. I've had it
Yes.
myself with like heavy metal or whatever, but at some point,
it's a weird niche gatekeeper.
Yeah, at some point you're gonna. Well, this is Led Zeppelin was at one time called heavy metal, but now they are not. And they, Deicide is heavy metal now. It's like, but they're the same. They're from the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure like Zepp heads, when Deicide came out, like, that's not music. That's not heavy metal. That's awful. It's not this. So I hear that. For me, I've had that same opinion with the Baphomet. Now think about me. 30 years ago, I was the first person, like, I'm the one that pitched LeVay on, can I sell the Baphomet on t-shirts? Like, then say it's official Church and Satan merch.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, yes, as long as you give me my cut. And so I started merchandising shot glasses and everything with Baphomets on them. But I would try to get that in the store then. It was impossible. People were like, well, I like it, but I can't put it in my store. People will think I'm a Satanist. I'm like, well, you are. He's like, yeah, but I can't have that for my store. Like, if they think I'm they won't come here. And now it's like a major industry. There's a satanic industry that's happening where it's amazing to see how many stores, like, and how many big, like, they're sponsoring music festivals, satanic companies that are selling Baphomets. So for me, I look at it and I sort of grumble like that. I did that. I was the first one to do that. Where's my money? Where's my cut? I blazed those trails. But also I think I blazed those trails for a reason. And I think it's cool. And I have, I don't know, is it animosity? Yeah. I don't want to say jealousy, but there is all of this stuff. But because I have studied in the satanic pursuit of life, I can put a nihilistic spin on that stuff and sort of turn my back on some of the commercialization of things that I love and just go, well, good, I'm glad you're exploiting it and taking advantage of it and making an opportunity for yourself. Bravo to you.
And perhaps they couldn't do it without your efforts.
I think that's true. They need trailblazers, whether it was me or someone else would have came along and did it. You do need those people that are the canary in the coal mine. And often I was that at a younger age, doing the books I did and all that stuff. I was the first to do it. But it was just, again, me looking at an opportunity and taking advantage of it and looking to exploit it and make the most of it. And I also see, though, like with art, like when I look at Satanism, I see it as an art movement as well. Like for me, a friend of LeVay, old school LeVayan Satanist, I saw it as a political and artistic movement, not a religion, but a political and artistic movement. And so with art, you also have critique. You also are critical of art that's coming up after you. Mm-hmm. Like when you create a scene, when you create a movement, an art movement, and the next movement comes up, they're mocking you. That's sort of almost like their job. They're like, no, you didn't do it good enough, so we're going to do it. And now you look, and it's like, what did we set up with the Satanic Temple? Like that was, and now it's like there's 10 different fucking Satanist groups that are really vying for political power, like memberships, all that stuff. It's like, wow, this is really sprouted from back in LeVay's day. There was only like Temple of Set, I know I don't get too, oh, you're blinking. What's going on?
Oh, I'm getting spoopy.
Spoopy. That's such a weird word. God. Spoopy. Now that gives me the willies. If you want to give me the willies, just say spoopy to me. And now that you said I look spoopy, I'm going to have to do so. I'm going to get facial tattoos. Can I ever remove the spoof from my face?
Maybe.
Shave my eyebrows?
Oh, that would really creep me out if you had no eyebrows.
I'd rather be spoofy or spoopy than creepy, like a creeper, because I hear girls say that guy's a creeper. And
spoopy is non-threatening and definitely girls are okay with, I think.
Okay, I don't want to be a creeper. You know what a creeper is?
Yeah.
Okay, of course you do. Okay. I watch myself because I am a creeper deep in my heart. Like I'm an old man now, so younger woman comes into the coffee shop. I take a look. There's a beautiful flower walking in front of me, but I have to go get back to looking away from that. Do not stare. Don't be a creeper. You know you're a creeper inside your head. Don't be a creeper. So as long as I'm not a creeper, I'm spoopy. Goth, you kids.
Yeah, and like it's interesting, like where does that line draw? Half the time, you speak a lot of how satanic. The idea of being a Satanist is a political / artistic movement, and there are a lot of non-artistic people claiming to be Satanists now that it feels like sometimes it's a rebranding of the word goth. They just don't want to be goths.
Well, it's definitely become something that's fashionable and something that's accepted. And, we were not accepted in my day. It was dangerous. And I think that's the part of when we talk about the commercialization of Halloween,
mm-hmm.
it takes the scare out of it and makes it spoopy or whatever.
Ooh.
That's where that's where the commercialization of Halloween, that's what happens when you commercialize things. You get spoopy. You get a word spoopy. Wait until we get one for Satanism because it'll be like that soon. And so that's where it gets watered down. Like tattoos. Tattoos in the old days, you went to a biker place to get them. It was fucking tough. And you got tattoos so people would fear you, not to accept you. But you're a feared tribe. You're feared. And so that's the same thing with that Baphomet. It used to be a very bold political statement to wear a Baphomet. And it still is. In America especially. And I would imagine in other countries, double especially. But it is becoming more and more accepted and fashionable. So you get those are like, is that the opposite of fanatics, the fashionables in religion? Like, they're the ones that just celebrate fanatic. Christmas?
Okay, I see what you mean. Those people who just do it for the presents or whatever.
Right. The Christians that are just like, we go for the handful of rituals that there are, but we don't go every day to church. Like
a weekend warrior.
Right. And then there's the fanatics that are going like, I go to church Wednesday and Sunday.
Okay. Yes. Well,
and I'm looking, if I could, I'd kill an abortion doctor. Those are fanatics to me.
I think that within Satanism, the fanatics right now, the fanatics are the ones who think that their identity has to basically suck the air out of the room everywhere. They don't understand how to integrate their identity into societies.
I love it. Suck the air out of the room.
That's pretty spoopy too. Not having air is pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Dying. Do you know what? I have a fear of drowning. I have a fear of dying in a fire. I also am irrationally scared of dying in space. Don't ask.
Oh, well, that's a good one. The space one I wouldn't mind. I have a fear of heights. And I've done like fiberglass
yes.
insulation where I had to do cathedral ceilings way high up, and it was too much for me.
Oh.
If you just run across a 2x4, you don't have even a ladder or planks sometimes. So high up work I can't do. But when I used to have a fear of planes when I first started taking them, and then this is how I got into it. Well, I drank and took a lot of pills before, but I also got into it like this. Where you know what? If I'm going to die, I mean, do I want to die of a heart attack or cancer? Or do I want to die in a plane wreck?
Like a blaze of glory.
Yeah, like a plane wreck is going to be the fucking death for me. So I was like, finally, I took it like, if we die today, it's a good one. It's good. People are going to talk. People are going to talk. My name's going to be on people's. Shane was in that plane, and I'm going to try to laugh. I thought, what will I do? Will I be screaming? No, no, no. And I'm going to try to have fun like a roller coaster and go, wee, wee, and just try to have a good time with it. So that's how I got over my fear of planes. But I'm afraid of heights.
That's a really good outlook on it. I think that's circling back to creepy and scary. I think that's kind of how a lot of people take scary stuff. It's a rush. They have to reason it and face it. And like,
Yes.
Dying in a plane is a little different. Dying in space, totally irrational. But I think that idea is that's very good. It's different than, shriveling up like a dead spider in the corner of a room.
Right. Well, I think that's part of my entrepreneurial spirit. Like I call my, like a creative entrepreneur or whatever, instead of an artist. That's for other people to call me. And so I think that I see things as a glass half full, or I see mistakes as lessons. Like when I fuck up, I'm like, I learned something there. We fuck up, we learned something there. And I try to keep it like that and not let it turn into 10 minuses. Because once you're like, I hate myself for this, you just stack up the loss. It's like, you might as well curl up in the corner.
That's very much like owning up to shitty costumes. Did you ever have a shitty costume that you just owned it and then it ended up being a good costume?
No, because I just have like the anxiety of not having a costume. I just don't do the costumes. Even for this, like we talk about the next recording next Sunday, we're going to record a second Halloween show.
Yes.
And I want to dress up in costume.
Oh, by the way, everyone, we have a second show regarding Halloween coming up, so I hope you listen to that as well. This one we talked about Halloween as Halloween-y stuff. Next time we will talk about cinema and different kinds of forms of entertainment regarding Halloween. This sounds like a what's it called? Telethon. But if you like what you're hearing, you should totally check out speakofthedevilpod.com. Shane, do you have anything you'd like to pitch right now?
No.
You
I
don't?
I'm only thinking about my menu for next Sunday's recording of our second Halloween show, and I get to go see The Exorcist tomorrow. No, not The Exorcist. I'm going to see Rosemary's Baby at a midnight show tomorrow to talk about it on the next show. So I just want to pitch the podcast. I think that's basically I'm pulling all my sites down. And I'm gonna they'll be launched again in January. So I'm just thinking about the podcast and the few special bonus shows we'll record, like for Halloween and Christmas and Thanksgiving. You spoke about possibly.
Yes, definitely.
So those are all cool things, and that's all I'm thinking about. I mean, I'm making sculptures, but yeah, find me on Instagram. I really like Instagram, even though I don't like Facebook.
What is your Instagram handle?
Shane Bugbee, Bugbee.
You can find him at Shane Bugbee. I have nothing to pitch except for this podcast right now myself. However, if you're looking for some quality reading material, you should look for The Joys of Satanism, which is a book that Shane recently released. And it's a really good way to dip your toes into Satanism and what Satanism means to someone who's been around it for over 30 years. It's definitely not a book that demons are going to fly out of. It's very pretty as well. It's a bright pink book with a beautiful yellow pentacle on it, and it looks adorable on your shelf. It always makes me want to drink pink lemonade when I look at it. It definitely is a nice conversation piece, and I mentioned that one also in particular because something about it also makes me think of the first edition of the Satanic Bible, which I believe was released by Reader's Digest when it first came out. And it was definitely seen as a piece of entertainment, something to enjoy. And I find Joys of Satanism to be the new, kind of in the same spirit as LaVey's first edition of it.
Wow, thank you so much. I forget, you're talking about pitching something. It's hard to sell yourself as an artist, or for me it is. it becomes hard. So anyway, thank you. Wow, that's very nice. What a nice thing. Thank you.
Well, I got mine for free as a gift, so I figured I would pay it forward and someone else will buy the book as well.
I love it.
So
you're awesome, Nannerl.
Oh, thank you so much. For now, I've been Nannerl. This has been Shane Bugby. This is Speak of the Devil Pod. And I hope you join us next week for our part 2, where we continue our conversation about Halloween.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and tune into our next episode, wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. You can find us at Speak of the Devil Pod on Twitter and contact us at speakofthedevilpod@gmail.com. For Shane's artwork or to support his endeavors, please visit shanebugby.com or find him on Twitter at ShaneBugby. I've been Nannerl. Have a good one.
Oh, and ShaneIsTheDevil.com.